Good morning, everyone. How you guys doing? Just headed for another load of water. My water hose froze over Christmas, so I had it hanging up from the ceiling of the saw shop. Saturday morning, 50-mile-an-hour winds last night. I think it was minus 44 at one point. Now it's minus 11. With the wind chill, it's minus 30. So if you stay out of the wind, it's not too bad. Just doing my morning chores. I went to the dump this morning and fired up the wood weasel, fired up the skid steer, pushed about 12 to 18 inches of hard pack blown in snow. So you guys can see the roads have blown in again. It's a little bit of a battle here, friends, this time of the year. The more snow you get, the more snow you have. It never melts here. It just continually packs down, and then as the crystals start to break down, it gets loose, then the wind picks it up. So a 2-inch snowstorm here you can end up with a foot or two of blown in snow in your yard. So what you do is you hook your hose up to here, all the way around to here, open her up, and then there's a controller there. You put your little water fob in, you have your own account, and you type it in how much you want. This tank is 1910 liters, or I can't remember, it's 410 US gallons. It weighs I think 5,200 pounds full. So then you just sit here, friends, and you wait for it to fill up. What you want to do is, I watch it go up, and I hit the stop button, preferably before it does that. Turn her off. You ever seen a waterfall in the middle of winter? Okay, crack this one, this one. See, friends, we grew up doing this. I grew up doing this. This area, everybody hauls water. Okay, you crack it from there. Everybody hauls water out this way. So if you're from this vicinity, you haul water. It's just what you do, right? Unless you're hooked up to town water, but there you go. Get the water out of the hose. Take my hose here. I'm still smitten, friends, with this truck. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. I wanted a rag cab, long bed, because it'll just be me in this truck 98% of the time, and it had to be a 3/4 ton. So you can see it still has the factory rake. It's not even sacked out. So, oh, it's cold. I gotta get in the cab and warm my hands up. I'm having a good day. I'm getting stuff done on this Echo. This is one of those lingering projects that's been kind of, put aside, and it is what it is. It's been a learning experience for me. Not every saw that you port goes easy, and this definitely is one of the more involved saws I've done. Yes, it's a farm and ranch saw, but that doesn't mean that it's, easy to port. Some of you guys probably might be laughing, those of you guys that have done this before. I'm sure you have a system down. I do not have a system on these yet. So I've just been kind of, keeping my ear to the ground and listening, if that makes sense. I kind of want to go over today my thoughts on this saw, and then carburation issues with this saw. I think I touched on it a little bit before, but I did a modification to the carburetor just now, and I want to talk about that, and then we can I'll show you guys what I did and kind of my thoughts. Different carbs. I have a bunch of carbs here. I was trying to find a non-fixed high jet. So when I originally ran this saw, friends, my initial response was, I can't get this thing to lean out. most of the video you've seen of this saw, I was running the high jet at about half. 5/8, maybe 3/4 when it was stock. The minute I opened up the muffler, I had to run it at half. Which tells you that muffler is very restrictive. Once the muffler gets open, it allows more air and fuel into the saw. Again, that's why the performance pipes that I made the video on, that's not a tuned pipe, but my experience with that type of pipe, the minute you put that pipe on the saw, it gets rich. That's usually how I know a pipe's going to work. Now, to what degree it works is, questionable, but usually the saw will get rich. Well, when I opened up the muffler on the Echo, it got really rich. Like snarly, growly, spit and fuel rich. So I ran that saw anywhere from half to having the high jet turned off while I was testing it. And I just couldn't get it to lean out. Well, you guys were curious about what carbs I've put on the saw. So I had the stock carb. The stock carb is an HDA 268A, it says on here. I don't know if that's the model number, but it's an HDA, but it's a very small HDA. It would be about the size of a 50cc saw's carburetor generally. So I noted that when I took it apart, and I thought, that's interesting. Again, all these little differences, when you're looking at a saw for the first time, those little nuances that you might overlook can often be the solution to your problem once you poured it. Now, this saw had a tiny carb and long intake duration. So I think what Echo's doing is they're stifling the fuel flow with a choked up muffler, long intake duration, and short blowdown, I think is what they're doing. So again, I think it's all about emissions, friends. Is this saw, it's not a straddle saw, but it still has to pass emissions. And I think how they're doing that is a combination of a small carb and funky timing numbers. I might be wrong. It's just a hypothesis. A couple fellas were telling me to change the main jet in this saw. So I just did that today, friends. Now, you guys were asking me, what other carbs have I run? I had a 620 Echo carb on here that also has a semi-fixed high jet. The big carb, and that's a big carb. It's substantially bigger. In fact, I would say it is the same size as the carb on an 80cc Echo. Yes, it is. So I noticed no difference in running with the saw with that carb. So it was equally as rich. It maybe pulled a little bit better, but I didn't notice any difference. What I did notice was when we changed the ignition coil, putting the higher RPM ignition coil, I have a feeling that coil might have a little bit angrier advance or timing curve, a little bit more aggressive. The saw ran better with that. With the bigger carb, I couldn't really tell the difference. But whatever, this is, friends, I got so many comments about why would you do that when you could just buy a 620? Well, my buddy already had this saw. He got it for a smoking deal. He's got no money into it. He's a professional cutter. He ran the saw, and it's like, this thing needs some help. So why not? Why not try and warm this thing up? I'm just doing it for fun and doing it as a favor to him. So why not, right? So if you're looking at buying an Echo, I would probably just buy a 620, because as I understand in the States, the 620 is only a couple $100 more than the 590. Up here, 620 is like $1,000, 590 is like $700. So, but I guess if you put the coil and the carb on up here, you'd be at the same price. So anyways, friends, that's here nor there. If you already have a 590 and you want to hop it up, that's why I'm doing this. Let's see what we can do. Now, getting back, I'm kind of rambling here, but what I did was I had a carburetor off of an 80cc Echo, CS8000. It's a honkin' big HDA, doesn't have the fixed high jet, and So I thought, great, I'll bolt it on. Now the linkages, fuel inlet, and all that did not work. So I rigged it up just with a piece of fuel line and no choke. It's a down choke. It's a downy choke, and this saw has an uppy choke, right? So you can fix all that and flop things around. And friends, you can mix and match carburetor parts and build a custom carb. I often do that on some of the saws you see on this channel. Will have a custom carb. If I feel it needs more carburetor, I'll build one or swap one. So I put this carb on. The saw still would not run any better. I noticed it was harder to start with this carb, and I couldn't get it to settle down. I believe this to be a good carb. So again, friends, I don't know. I was just trying to let the saw tell me what it wants, and what I got from that is it wants me to change the port timing. Now, I'm going to bring you guys in here. Let's talk about this carburetor. Okay, I'm just going to angle you guys down. Move some stuff out of the way here. I have a whole bunch of carbs here from my carb stash. If I break down a saw and it's going for parts, I always rob the carb off. Okay? Excuse me. Okay, so here's that big 80cc Echo carb. She's a big one here. Okay? Let's compare that to the 620 carb, just because being a saw nerd, I'm kind of interested in this stuff. Okay, and what do we have here? So this is, okay, this is the stock carb. Okay? Notice how small it is. This is the 620 carb. Notice it has a substantially bigger venturi in it. Okay? Can you guys pick that up? It's quite a bit bigger, friends. Okay, here is the 80cc carb. I don't know if you're picking this up, but the 80cc carb is the same body as the 620 carb. Okay, so interesting, isn't it? Okay, so 620 out of the box. I'm going to put this back in the factory box. 620 out of the box seems like it's a little bit of a hot rod. I've never run one. I hear they're a great saw. Maybe I'll pick one up one day and try it out. But for now, we're working on the 590. Okay, so this is the stock carb. Now, what I just did, friends, is I was attempting to put a non-fixed high jet in. This is the high jet. Okay, here it is right here. This is the high jet out of this carb. Okay, it's too small. No bueno. Okay, it does not fit. Now, I've never done this on the channel for you guys, but it's behind a Welsh plug, and what you do is, where's my punch? I don't have my punch here. Okay, get a punch that fits nicely, and you drive it through into the carb body, and it'll pop off. There, you can see this one sticking out. Okay, pop it through. I usually close that, drive it through, and then when you open this up, it'll fall out. Okay, so this is a non-fixed high jet, and then this Welsh plug right here seals it off. Okay, now here is the factory Echo high jet. See that extra hole in there, friends? So from what I can tell, this thing gets its fuel through this side hole right here. Okay, now there's a little orifice in there, and it feeds it fuel. Okay, now what this saw, the setup of the Echo, is that this jet, okay, right here, see that extra hole? Well, from what I can see, friends, is when your carburetor's full of fuel, okay, again, fuel comes in through here. There's your metering lever. There's fuel in here, right? That high jet can suck fuel through the bottom here, okay? Okay, through that little pinhole. Now, I don't know, and maybe some of you know, could you JB weld this shut? I think you probably could. I might even try that. So what I did, friends, I have an HDA off of a still here. 036. I think this is off an 036 or an 034 Super, okay? Okay, let's compare the Echo carb. Where is it? Let's compare the Echo carb. Okay. This one has a slightly larger venturi than this. It's not really picking it up on camera, but take my word for it, friends. Okay. So I took this thing down and I noticed that it has the same diameter main jet and it's not fixed. Okay. So what I did, friends, this is the stock carb. I'm going to try it on this first. Okay. I drove it in here, and now we should have a fully adjustable carburetor, okay? Maybe. I don't know, friends. I haven't monkeyed around with HDAs much. Most of the saws I work on have Tillotson, your Tillotson HDs, or Tillotson HS series. Here, let's look at a Tillotson from like a 630 Super. Look at the size of the mouth on that. Okay. Those old school Huskies had some big carbitutors, if you look at it that way. Okay. This is a 630 Super Carb, HS224A. Okay, so it's just kind of interesting to compare carburetors, and I like the Tillotson carbs. I like the way they fuel. HDAs are good too, though. I don't work with HDAs as often as I work with the Tillotsons. Okay, friends, so all you do, once again, is drive this through. Be careful. It was kind of stuck in here. I actually heated up this carb body just a little bit and then tap, 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 and it went right through. There you go. There, see that hole? That's what feeds that jet. Okay, and it feeds through right there. A hole in the side, and then out the nozzle it comes. That's the nozzle. Okay, now again, this one, can you tell I've been using brake clean today, friends? This one actually sucks. I guess, let's talk about this. I'm going to sit back down, friends. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. How do these carburetors work? Well, it works on vacuum, okay? Most of these have two circuits, your idle circuit and your main jet, okay? When the saw is idling, you're pulling out of the idle circuit. Now, I'm going to dummy this down. There is some crossover in the two circuits, but for all intents and purposes, when your saw is idling, you're pulling fuel through the idle circuit, okay? Now, when you start giving it throttle, that increases vacuum through the saw, right? As RPM goes up, vacuum should rise. As the vacuum rises to a certain point, that will start pulling fuel through your main jet, okay? Now, in theory, now think about this. So how do these semi-fixed high jets work? Well, it's kind of simple. If the saw gets too lean, it overspeeds. If it overspeeds, it pulls too much vacuum. If it pulls too much vacuum, that little semi-fixed high jet will have enough pull on it, I'm guessing, to pull fuel through that center hole, and then you end up pouring more fuel in. It slows the saw down and it stops it from burning up. That's the theory. So it's a pretty simple thing. Yeah, carburetors can be voodoo once in a while, but that's the deal there. So I think what Echo was doing with these is they were trying, this saw is being sold to the masses, and let's be honest, friends, a lot of people do not know how to tune a carburetor. And so Echo figured, well, let's make this so that guys can't overspeed it and lean the saw out and burn it up. So that's why they did that. That started in the 70s with like Home Light. Mac had single jet carburetors which are good because a lot of those Maxxis single jet carbs are not scored up because nobody could lean them out. So most of the home lights have a semi-fixed high jet, meaning you can turn that high jet right off and it'll continue to pull fuel. A lot of people will drive a Welsh plug underneath. There's a, here, actually, let's take a peek here. I probably have one right here, okay? Since we're talking carb tuners, that's an HS series carb. See that big plug? That is where the governor is, okay? There's a little hole underneath there. So what guys do, and I've done this before, is you drive a Welsh plug into this hole and then put the screw back in. And often that will fix your governor problem. If that doesn't work, you can JB weld it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't on these. There's no rhyme or reason. I've had some that I've plugged and they work good. I've had others that I've plugged and they're not quite as good. So, but in this case, the only way to fix this is to drive a new main jet. Now, I'm going to be very careful when I fire this saw up because I'm guessing this main jet should be more than sufficient for this saw. It's the same size carburetor, it's the same body. The only difference is this is a still, so it's got different controls on it, right? But other than that, the layout of these two saws, or two carburetors, are identical. So we're going to try this. So once again, friends, I'm going to try a main jet out of a 034, 036 still carb. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. We'll know right away. If I can't get this thing to lean out or it's running too rich, then I know I probably have a main jet issue. But for now, all we can do is try, right? I know there's a Husqvarna jet that drives in there. One of you guys sent me the data. I got it written down here. But for now, let's try what we got. I would like this thing to be turnkey. This is going to go to a tree service, so I want it to be easily tunable. We were kind of thinking, since these do run rich, it is a good groundman saw for his company. So I wasn't hesitant to port this just because of the fact that, a novice cutter or even a professional won't be able to lean this out so much to blow it up. But I mean, I want to see what this thing will do. It's a long stroke, small bore saw. It's going to flow a lot of air now, and I think, friends, I think we're going to have this beat. So there you go. That's what I'm doing today. I'm just puttering with 590 carbs. I did the porting this morning, and hopefully we'll have this saw off the bench soon and in some wood. Anyhow, friends, as always, thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.